Sorry. Let me tell you a little bit about this penultimate wine. For me, I don't, maybe I shouldn't say this, but that's never stopped me saying it before. I love this wine. I really do. I think it's an outstanding wine, and certainly price quality. I'll tell you a little bit about the price in a moment. It's consistently really good. It's made with Monastrell. It's actually made also with 20% Cabernet Sauvignon, so 80% Monastrell and 20% Cabernet Sauvignon. I think that Cabernet really makes quite a difference. You get, for me, some blackcurrant on there.
Yep.
Some people actually take a note of licorice as well. You can get sometimes a little bit of licorice on it as well, on the nose particularly. Okay? Now, we've been talking so far about the different senses we use. We've used the sense of sight, we've used the sense of smell, and we've used the sense of touch. Now, you might think it's a bit funny because this is a wine tasting, but I haven't used the sense of taste yet. Well, there's a good reason for that, because in actual fact your mouth is quite primitive at tasting, I don't mean you personally, one's mouth, because your mouth has certain senses which are only able to detect sweetness, acidity, salt and bitterness. They're various parts of the tongue, and that's all you can actually detect with your mouth. So that's why I've actually put it onto the bottom, not exactly the bottom of the senses, but I can tell you a little bit more about that. Please. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, I was going to say this is the last wine we're having this evening, but John has just presented a bottle of port. So in fact this is another penultimate wine. And it's going to be interesting as well, because we can do a little bit of a comparison between this, which I'm saying has got some of the qualities of port, some similarities, some aromas and some flavours, etc. Similar to port, but it's not port. It's not fortified. This wine is 16%, which is the maximum that it can go to before the yeast dies. And so therefore, what we've got here is a wine which is a dessert wine, and it's got 16%, and it's also had some aging in oak barrels. I think it's actually had 8 months. I can check on that. I can't quite recall at the moment.
Thank you.
So really what we've got here is quite an interesting wine. When I was pouring it down the fire, and the lady said, "Oh, it's red." And that's interesting as well, because I think generally we tend to think of dessert wines as being white wines. Chateau Yquem, of course, and lots of other types of wines. Muscatel, this type of style of wine. But this is a red one. I think that's particularly interesting for a start, but more interesting, of course, when you actually taste it. My own view is it's a wonderful wine. When I first tasted this, it was a little bit warmer than it should have been. And I actually felt that it was a little bit like Ribena. Remember Ribena?
Yeah.
I remember. But I tell you what, it's got a bit more of a kick than Ribena. Would you agree? Yeah. Okay, so what have we got? We've got 16%, we've got a red wine made from 100% Monastrell. How do they make a dessert wine? Well, there are a couple of different ways, but I'm going to concentrate on the way today that they make this particular wine for obvious reasons. This wine is a red dessert wine, and it's made from Monastrell. It's made from the same grape variety as we've used in several other wines. So how can that make a lovely dry red wine and make a sweet wine as well? How can it? Is it a special clone? No, it isn't.
Some pudding wines are really, really sweet.
What actually happens is that the grapes are left on the vines for much longer than they would be if you were making a red wine. And so these particular bodegas, they start the harvest at the end of August, and they go through to round about halfway through October. But the grapes for this particular wine stay on the vines till probably the first week of November, certainly the end of October. What difference does that make, you might ask? Well, the difference is this, that we are blessed with a wonderful sunny climate here, aren't we? And so if you leave the grapes on the vines for longer, although the temperatures go down, there is still abundant sunshine. And the sunshine actually makes sure that the water content of the grape juice starts to evaporate a little bit. I think you'd be quite surprised when you saw these grapes being harvested. They actually look a little bit like raisins. They're starting to shrivel a little bit. And the reason for that is because the water content